Sleep can feel really elusive with type 1 diabetes. It's often the thing that everyone speaks about that they no longer get to have. And it's just really sad, honestly, that we feel like we have to say goodbye to sleep, because sleep is such an important thing. Sleep is important for every single human being. I know that we hear about it all the time. Everyone always tells us we need to get enough sleep, but we feel like we can't get it. But it's more than that. Sleep is when you recover. Sleep is what allows your body and your brain to work at its best. That includes insulin management. If you aren't getting enough sleep, whether that's quantity or quality wise, your insulin sensitivity will halve within a few days. And that's a big deal, because the more insulin that you then use, the more issues your body will then start to develop. Things like weight gain, things like insulin resistance. Obviously, having higher blood sugars then affects your nerves, your eyes, blood flow, all of these different important things, right? So enough about why sleep is so important. Obviously it is, but to improve your sleep, there are some really simple things that you can start to do. A lot of us aren't doing any of these. If you can start to implement just one of these things, you're going to start seeing an amazing benefit to your sleep. Number one is, this is going to sound obvious, but to really start to work on your blood sugar management. If you are currently not really sure how to be adjusting your own insulin properly, if you feel like you're kind of confused about your blood sugar management, reach out to your diabetes team. They are there to teach you what to do, how to do things, not just to tell you what to do. If you're currently only just going into your appointments and they're just kind of making changes for you and that's it, that's not really good enough. You can demand more of your diabetes team. They need to teach you how to make your own changes, why, what to look for, how to improve your blood sugar management without you having to constantly go into appointments to do that. Because obviously the large majority of your diabetes management happens on a daily basis when you're by yourself, when you're having to manage alone. That's number one, because when your blood sugars are in better range, you will no longer be, number one, having to rely on CGMs as much, but also that means you won't be needing to rely on alarms that are constantly waking you up overnight due to high and low blood sugars all the time. That's a big one. The second one that is really, really important just for the average person as well, but it's going to be tenfold important for you because you need even more sleep than the average person, is light exposure. That means you need to get as much natural light exposure during the day hours. So when the sun is up, get as much of that sunlight as possible. If it's raining, doesn't matter. You need to go out, whether it's overcast, sunny, get as much light outside exposure as possible and minimize your unnatural light exposure. Especially when the sun has set, you should be reducing your unnatural light exposure. That's any kind of lights in the house, TVs, electronics, computers, phones, anything that is an electronic device will be producing unnatural light exposure, and you're then beaming that into your eyes, and that's going to make sleep harder and harder for you each night because it affects your hormone profile. So it's so much more complex than it seems from the outside. If you can do those two things, that is going to be the biggest game changer for you as a type 1, or whether you're just watching this, you're not even type 1, it may have popped across your feed. Whether you are type 1 diabetic or not, these things are very, very important. But being type 1, if you can get on top of those blood sugars as well, it's going to be an absolute game changer. But the light thing will also be a huge one. So try those two things and see how you go. I hope you can improve your sleep, because sleep is awesome.